All right, we have Peach Goldman.
Yes.
Yeah,
I'm
here
Troy.
with us.
I'm the Troy Peach.
There you go, the Troy Peach
Yes.
here with us, and we're excited to have him with us as we're at the National Quartet Convention. That if you've never been here, we always tell people it's crazy.
100%.
It's just crazy.
Yes.
But we love it. We love
It's just Tuesday here. Whatever day. I don't know what day you're airing this, but it's Tuesday here. And I don't know if you guys have experienced your convention feet yet, but that'll happen about Wednesday, Thursday, and you kind of want to saw your feet off. That's kind of the way it works.
And by Friday, Saturday, they're numb. You just feel nothing.
Exactly. You feel nothing. Yes.
You feel
nothing. Inside and outside. You feel nothing.
Totally numb. So it's just a great week. We'd love to be able to, because we get to meet artists like you, be able to get you. It makes it so much easier for us to be able to come with you. So, again, we want our audience to know who these artists are. They're just not singers that they hear. These are real people.
We are.
So what I'd like for you to do is just share with our audience a little bit about you, about the group, and just kind of let them know who you are.
I can do that. I can do that. Well, Peach Goldman, I know it almost sounds like a injury law firm or a tax a tax firm, one of the two. But believe it or not, it is two last names put together. My name is Troy Peach. The group consists of me and my wife, Katie, and then my best friend, who I traveled with for 7 years, Andrew Goldman. We traveled together in a group called the Perrys. I was with the Perrys for 11 years total, but he and I traveled together there for 7 years with the Perrys. But my history in gospel music goes way back to the late 90s. My first group I ever started with was a group called the Wilburns. Yes, Jonathan Wilburn's mom and dad is who I sang with. And I sang with them for 3 years. I went from there to another group in gospel music called the Steels. And so I sang with Jeff and Sherry Steele. Back then, their son Bradley, who is featured on all their radio stuff now, he was only 5 years old back then. So I'm showing my age, I know. So I sang with the Steels for 6 years. I was the guy on the song that Two Men from Emmaus on the road to Emmaus. That was me all those years ago. And so from there, that's where I met my wife, Katie. We met at a Gaither homecoming videotaping. She was singing with the Neelands back then. And so we met there. We married a couple years later. She left the Neelands and went to a group called the Mike Speck Trio. And so she sang with Mike Speck for several years before then coming off the road to raise now our 20-year-old twin boys. Wow, and so she came off the road. About the time she came off the road is when I started with the Perrys. And so I was with the Perrys, like I said, for 11 years. 5 years ago, though, however, I came off the road with the Perrys and took the worship pastor job at my home church. Oh. And so I am still currently the worship pastor at my home church, which is Hillcrest Baptist Church in Lebanon, Tennessee. Yep. Our pastor, Tyler Galden, is there. And but God birthed this into us about 2 years ago from when, I don't know if a lot of your listeners may remember the story of the Perrys, but the Perrys, Tracy Stuffle, Libby's husband, passed several years ago. Tracy suffered a massive stroke before ultimately going to his reward in heaven. And through that time, Libby would have to be off the road some. Well, when she would, my wife would come and fill in. So it would be me, Katie, and Andrew singing together regularly as the Perrys. Well, we knew this would already work as Peach Goldman, so we had been off the road about 3 years, and God birthed this into us. And so we spoke with our producer, Wayne Hahn of Stowtown Records, and we said, this is kind of what we're feeling. And he said, well, we already know it sounds good. He said, Stowtown wants to be a part of it. So we did. We recorded our first album, which you guys have been so wonderful to play our first singles, and that's where we are. Here we are. So, wow. and now I'm here in your booth doing a radio interview.
There you go. Wow, all the way from the beginning to
all the way. I tried to cover.
Right
I tried to cover everything for you.
Well, I appreciate that, and I love the history.
Thank you.
I love the fact that a lot of people look at the groups. There is people moving in and out of the groups, but yet the consistency of the message, the
Yes.
consistency of what we're trying to do as an industry is really important.
It really is. You know, God blessed us this year. We've got 3 Fan Award nominations. We're up for Favorite New Artist.
Yeah.
We're up for Favorite Trio, which absolutely blew my mind because there's some amazing trios in our, and for us to be in the top 5 as a really, now we started over. We're a new group, you know. And then God blessed me. I, for 10 years, have been the midday guy on Singing News Radio Network. And so I'm nominated this year. I'm one of you radio jocks. I can't help it. But I am nominated for the Paul Heil Award for my show, Southern Gospel Middays.
Yes, I love that.
So God's been so good to us. And I can honestly say, when we decided to do this, I made God a promise. And I said, God, I know my first calling is my church. And my choir and my band and all my people there at the church. I said, that's my calling. I said, but I also know I'm called to spread your word everywhere I can. And you've given me this gift. And so I said, God, I promise that I will be at church every Sunday. I won't miss a service. We'll go sing the other days of the week, but we will be at our home church on Sunday and Wednesday. And I really believe that God honored that, and I think that's why He's blessed us like He has, is because we've done what we've committed to Him, and I believe that's why God's blessed.
Well, I appreciate that. I love the fact that you're there in that local church and part of that music that's there. How do you feel like maybe that's helped where you're now out giving them?
You know, it really has, because we've. I'll tell you, I spent 25 years of my life riding a bus, 200 plus days a year. And so I didn't realize how important our home church family was to us. And so to be in church, 3 times a week, and to see how that family will rally around you. I've got 80 voices in my choir. I'm blessed today. I was here because we had the Southern Gospel Music Association Hall of Fame. One of the inductees, Nick Bruno, is my band director. And so I am so blessed to see how God can take me out of one ministry and place me in another and completely change the seasons in my life. But to see how He would take that and then blossom a whole nother ministry out of it, it's been incredible. This fall, or this Christmas rather, our choir will release its first album called The Name That Changed the World. It'll be under the name Hillcrest Nashville. And so I see how God has then moved Peach Goldman in with the choir, and it's amazing to see how God works. But why should we even question that when He promised us, that He would take care of His children and that He would bless us abundantly more than we could ever imagine. And He's done that. And I'm just blessed to be able to walk in those blessings.
I love that. I love the fact that you're right. It's just amazing how God just puts those pieces
He
together.
He does.
And sometimes I don't know why we do this, but we look back and go, oh, wow, that really worked out.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Why we should be surprised
why
that God would do something amazing, it's just, that's what C.C. Winan said it best. All my life you've been faithful, and all my life you've been good. Yeah. And I'll tell you, Daniel, I am living in that promise every day.
I love that. I love the fact that God's been able to work with you with that, and it's showing in the music, I think.
Well,
I really do.
Thank you.
So, our target audience, we deliberately target our audience to the younger millennials and Gen Z.
Right.
That's our target audience.
That's who we need.
What are you seeing? What are you seeing even in church?
Yeah.
The response of a younger generation.
So what I'm learning, and I think, and I'm not casting blame, but our music was removed from the churches several years ago. It shifted. Nothing wrong with that. We shifted into more of a worship type, and I love worship music. But they cut off our, what I call Southern gospel music from the church. So our kids that are coming along now, like my kids, they'll be 20 this year. And they come along and they never experienced harmony and the rooted gospel in a song. And now when you expose them to it, it's like a whole new game for them. Their eyes light up and they're like, oh, you can sing that, and you teach them those parts and teach them how that works, and then they get the meat behind these songs, and they realize that, not that there's anything wrong with worship music. I do worship music, every Sunday in my church, but when you deliver those songs with the message that is there, I'm finding these kids love it. I think our job is just to expose them to it. I've got kids now in our youth department at our church. I'll go upstairs after a Wednesday night service where they've had their own and they've done their own worship stuff, but then I hear them playing McCamey records, and I hear them playing our records. They're playing Peach Goldman, or they're playing Triumphant, and they just can't get enough of it because they love it. But it's because we've exposed them to it. And that's the, if there was a trick, that's the trick.
Yeah, and then we found that, again, a tradition of Southern gospel music, like you mentioned, the meat that's in there.
Yes.
And again, the praise and worship, in fact, we do play on Sundays a lot of the traditional hymns along with praise and worship. We play that on Sundays, and we want them to be exposed to that as well. But the meat of the message of the songs, the gospel message, you're right. I feel like that's resonating with this younger generation.
I have purposely on Sunday nights at our church, we do a shorter, it's abbreviated worship on Sunday night, but I call it old school Sunday night. And buddy, I dig out the old redback book and we start doing those old songs. Well, my kids, our youth department went to C.T. Townsend's Arise conference this past year. Well, actually for the past 3 years they've been. Well, that's the music they do at that Arise conference. Well, they come back and they're like, Brother Troy, all those songs you sing on old school Sunday night, we already knew them when we got there. So they thought it was amazing that they already knew those songs, because they were kids all around them that didn't know them.
Yeah.
So I find that amazing that those kids, they gravitate, you feed it to them and they love it.
I'm glad you brought that up. So our audience is very well aware of the Rise Conference. We're here, Truth and Love Radio Network's here every year.
Awesome.
With the Rise Conference, know the CT well, and we do a lot.
I think we brought. Our pastor is Pastor Tyler Golden. Yes. So I think we brought 70 or 80 kids last year. So the past 2 or 3 years, we've been quite a big group of our rowdy bunch up here. So.
Well, it's a lot of rowdy bunch. I think
it is.
6,000 this
year.
year.
The Lord did not lead me in that ministry, so I've not been a part of that.
Yeah, I will tell you, we're here, but we're not in that.
I get you.
Even that wears you out. But that just shows me that we're hitting the right target.
I agree.
These kids are just loving this, and again, they're getting that meat. And then I would be remiss of not saying, even in the last few weeks, with some of the events that have taken place, watching this generation, they're hungry for the truth.
They're hungry for it.
They're hungry for it, and we appreciate what you guys are doing and the message. So let's real quick, just some of the what you knew is coming out and some music.
So our current single right now is "For My Good," written by Chip Davis and Wayne Hahn, our producer, and it comes from Romans chapter 8, verse 28. For we know that all things work together for good of them who love the Lord and are called according to His purpose. Yes, the storms in life may come. Yes, the winds may blow, but I guarantee you, they are for your good. You may not know it now, but God is working it for your good. So that's the new song that's out. We're currently working on our sophomore album with Stowtown Records. So we're working on our second album. Already got a couple songs cut and ready for that. So all kinds of things are coming. That is big that's coming. And then for 2026, Peach Goldman, along with our pastor, Tyler Golden, are doing some tour nights called Nights of Unspeakable Joy. So where we will go out and do worship with local choirs if they're available, or we will lead worship and then Pastor Tyler will speak. We've already done several of these on the road, and last weekend alone, we had over 20 people come to know Christ in just 2 of those events. So God's doing some amazing things. I'm just glad I'm along for a ride.
That's great. So where will they find your music?
You can find our music on all the streaming platforms, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, all the things, Pandora, we're all there. But the easiest way to find us, and you can get all the links, is at our website, peachgoldman.com. We're on all the platforms too. You can find us Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, TikTok even. We do all the things.
Good. And we always encourage them to get the downloads.
Yes.
But we also want them to go to the website.
Yes.
And purchase
Yes.
the physical product.
They can do that.
Well.
They can do that, and then we do have a lot of T-shirts for all of our songs. Even our song "Life Giving Us Life," we've got a T-shirt that says "Jesus gave me life." So it's just all that kind of stuff helps us just further the gospel a little more.
And that's what we encourage them to do. Enjoy the music, but support the ministry that's
Thank you.
bringing it.
Thank
we
you
want
very
to do
much.
that. So we'll connect you to our website.
Awesome.
Our
And
YouTube channel.
we'll do
connect
the
back
same.
to you
We'll do the same.
And make sure our audience gets to get more of you.
Thank you.
That's there. So thank you for taking a few minutes.
No,
to be with
thank
us.
you so much for allowing us, and thank you for playing our music.
Appreciate it. Thanks.